Boston Celtics get smoked at home by the Clippers. The shots didn't fall, and when they didn't fall, they piled up and broke Boston's defense. I'm talking about it right now on a bonus Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, Pete John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and I got you covered every single day, even after these post games, with a free, fresh podcast. Normally Monday through Friday, bonus podcasts on the weekends when they play. So subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can even get me talking about this loss. I'm not going to skip out on a podcast when they lose, even though 10 people are going to listen. I appreciate all 10 of you. So thanks for listening. If you're new to the podcast, I'm John Karalis. I used to play a long time ago. Now I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Today, I am covering a loss, a terrible, ugly, brutal loss to the Clippers, 115-96. And let me tell you, it was not that close. At one point, it was a 36-point game. So let's just dive right into it. It's a bonus podcast. I'm not going to spend too much time getting into all the crazy. There's really not a ton here. Here's how the game went. First quarter, actually pretty good. First quarter, they didn't shoot well. They shot 27% from the field, 2 of 12, I believe, from 3. Shots were not falling, but they were playing pretty decent defense. They gave up 26 points. It was not that bad at the end of one. They were generating good looks. I thought the Celtics were getting the shots that they wanted. I thought everything was going well except for the shots. Didn't fall. Okay, no problem. They'd just come off this amazing, most efficient shooting night in NBA history. Of course, there's going to be some correction. There's going to be a little bit of that. At some point, I expected it to correct itself. It never really did until the bench came in the fourth quarter. Those end of bench guys kind of had the best basketball of the night. Let me just side note right now. The fans who were here at the TD Garden, I'm in one of the side rooms here at the TD Garden because they're changing the arena over, so there's no floor or anything like that for me to podcast from. The fans that were here till the end, I know a lot of people left early in the fourth quarter. Don't blame you. It's a Saturday night in Boston. Go get your drink on. Go drown your sorrows from this loss. Go have some fun. This game wasn't any fun, so go out and have some fun. No problem to me. But the fans who stuck around and got to see the garbage time, the end of bench guys, you guys were great. The fans were great. They were cheering. It was loud. It was fun. Like, it felt like a real, beginning of the game. Everybody was into it. There were boos during the course of the game, right? Second, third quarter, especially the third quarter. There was booing. No doubt the Celtics deserved it. But I just got to give a special shout out to those fans who stuck around and gave the end of bench guys like a real atmosphere, a real something to play to kind of like you make a shot, you get the crowd reacting, people chanting. Like that was fun to watch. It was the only thing that was fun to watch in this game. Back to the first quarter, which again, thought was pretty good. But then the misses, and we haven't seen a game like this from the Celtics in a while. We might not have seen it this year, where the misses led to frustration and led to this slow erosion of the Celtics defense. So quarter one, defense looks pretty good, right? They're in there, give up 26 points. You just shoot poorly. You miss a couple of shots. They missed 3 shots more than the Clippers. They got 1 more free throw. So that's 3 2-pointers that they missed. Sorry, but they made that free throw. It's a 5-point difference. There's your 5-point difference in the first quarter. Second quarter, second chances now start to creep in. The Celtics are getting frustrated by their misses, and it's now turning into transition opportunities, missed opportunities, and they're not closing out defensive possessions anymore. They're playing defense. They're still playing some defense, but they're not getting the rebounds. They're not securing the rebounds. And now they start giving up second chance points. So the 5-point lead balloons into, 13, 14, 15. And so the game starts to feel like it's slipping away. Turning point for me comes into the third quarter. At the beginning of the third quarter, Jayson Tatum comes out and scores Boston's first 7 points. And it looks like, hey, I think it was a 7-2 run. Okay, Boston, they're alive. There's signs of life. Here we go. This is an opportunity. It's a long game. You still have 24 minutes, or at that point, 20 some odd minutes. It was an opportunity there. If you could just get some stops, you can pile up a little bit of a run, and maybe this game turns around. Seen good first quarters, good first halves turn into bad second halves for teams. Why not flip that? The Celtics are very capable of that, even without Porzingis, who missed this game with the sprained left ankle. By the way, another side note, I saw him walking around. He was on the bench. He looked fine on the bench. I saw him walking around in the back. I saw him walking out to his car and looks fine. Wouldn't even know that he was a guy who missed the game. So that's good news. If you're looking for good news out of this, Porzingis was walking around fine. I wouldn't know that he had a sprained ankle. So hopefully he plays in one or both of these upcoming games and he comes back soon in the homestand. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So even without Porzingis, I thought the Celtics had this opportunity, but in the third quarter, then the Clippers go on a 21-0 run. And Boston goes most of the rest of the way in the third quarter without being able to score. They had their chances, but then they just stop playing defense. They miss layups, and the missed layups get into transition. And the transition turns into just piling up the points, and the Celtics are incapable of coming back from that. So it was this slow grinding down of Boston's defense that, again, started out pretty good, then started to slip, and then completely fell apart. And we haven't seen the bad shooting, and it really was bad shooting, at least to start. We haven't seen that lead to bad defense as much. We've seen the Celtics have some tough shooting nights, but they've always been able to overcome that. Now, I don't know if this is a January thing. I don't know if this is a fatigue thing. I don't know if this is bad habits creeping in. I don't think it's bad habits. We'll see how they respond. This is another opportunity to respond. The Pelicans are coming in on Monday. That's going to be a good game. That's an important bounce back for them. Then they play the Pacers. That's a tough team for the Celtics. Tough team for everybody. Pacers are pretty good. Siakam's there. He's playing well. So that's going to be tough. I don't know if Porzingis is going to play or not, but they can't let this they can't get back to this, is what I'm trying to say. They can't get back to, oh, you had a bad shooting night? Well, that's going to lead to bad defensive night. They have to still be able to play defense. And yeah, Joe talked about inefficient offense, and got to give the Clippers the credit that they deserve. The Clippers came in with a focus, a fire. They clearly had that last game, the blowout at home, on their minds. They came in, they took care of business. They had a good defensive game plan. They really made it difficult for the Celtics. Joe Mazzulla afterwards said they were active hands. Every time the Celtics had the potential for a passing opportunity, they kind of hit it a half second late because of the Clippers and the way they were playing defense. So give the Clippers their credit. They came in, they beat the Celtics and beat them very, very well. Yes, they made a few more shots in the first quarter, but they just kept putting that pressure on the Celtics. They kept putting that pressure. They kept making it difficult for the Celtics. They kept defending well. They didn't let the Celtics get anything they wanted at the rim. I said before the game to challenge them at the rim, and the Celtics did, and the Clippers had the answers. Without Ivica Zubac, they came in. Plumlee played well. Daniel Tice played well. They did a good job there, handling the Celtics attack. So credit to them. Good for them. The Celtics didn't play at the right pace that they should have. If without Porzingis, they needed to play faster. They needed to play. If they played at the pace that they played at with Miami, against Miami, then this game might have been different. I'm not saying that would have led to good shots. It might not have. But that was also the last couple of games. They really generated a lot of good looks. They really were able to get the good looks. And the Miami game was a really good example of play with the right pace, play with the right intentionality, make every movement, every pass, everything intentional and meaningful and crisp and all of that stuff. You do that and things will fall into place more often than not. Maybe you just have a bad shooting night, and that's how it goes. And a lot of this definitely stems from a bad shooting night. Now, as the game went on, the shot selection got a little bit worse because the Celtics were missing shots, and I think they put pressure on themselves, and they started to take tougher shots, more contested shots. They were just searching for something, anybody, anything to hit, to fall, and they couldn't find it. At one point, Jrue Holiday took a three-pointer that rimmed in and out, like it was halfway down, and it turns around and he goes, oh my God, throws his hands up to the sky, looks up towards the rafters, frustrated. And if Holiday is frustrated, he's the even keel here. He's the rudder. If he's frustrated, then the rest of the guys are frustrated. So a tough overall game, a tough overall performance, but the Celtics let the missed shots get to them. And that's going to happen from time to time. It's something that they've done in the past. They used to do it a lot more. So again, has to be the exception. This season, it's the exception. Keep it the exception. Bounce back. You've lost 2 in a row at home now. So now you got to bounce back. You can't lose 2 games in a row. You got to come back with a better performance against the Pelicans, which I expect them to do because that's what they've done this season. That's the trend. Play a better offense, play a better style, and keep, if anything, if there's a silver lining from the game itself, is they got some really good film on how the Clippers defended them and the way that they got into those passing lanes, the way they prevented some of the passes that the Celtics wanted to make. You get some good film on how they defended. And again, without Porzingis, it might be a different story, but they got some good film there that you can look at and say, how did they do this? And you maybe have some tricks. Other teams are going to try to replicate this when it comes to playing Boston. So now Boston now has the answers, right? As I wrote on Boston Sports Journal, you can't get the antidote without the venom, right? You don't know what you're fixing without knowing what the problem is. So great game plan from the Clippers. Ty Lue is a really good coach. Clippers are a really good team. They've figured out the Harden thing. Everybody's playing great. They're playing amazing basketball. They're a really good team. So not much more else that I can say because it's the same story for everybody, right? It wasn't a 3-point thing. They took more shots in the paint through 3 quarters before garbage time. They took more shots in the paint than they did from 3. So if your reaction is, well, they need to drive more, they did drive more. They literally drove more than they shot 3-pointers. They couldn't hit those either. They were missing at the rim. There were a ton. The third quarter, as part of it was breaking open, every miss, there was like 2 in a row and 3 out of 5 or something like that, where missed layups turned into Clippers dunks. They just didn't have it. And them not having it eroded the defense to a point where by the third quarter, they just kind of stopped playing it. And that's a problem, but it's an excusable problem if they don't replicate it. You just chalk it up and say, okay, you didn't play at the right pace. You didn't play with the right focus. And maybe some of that was because the shots weren't falling. So got to figure out how to win when the shots don't fall. And the Celtics have done a pretty decent job of that this season. So that's it. That's it. And that's the podcast. That is the entire podcast for the first time in a long time. 15 minutes of bonus podcast. I'm not going to belabor this point. I'm willing to chalk this up if they come out against the Pelicans and play well. It's as simple as that. Sometimes you don't make your shots. Don't let the missed shots affect your defense. It's as simple as that. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're new, hope you enjoyed this bonus podcast. I'm podcasting after every game. So it's a Saturday night. It's a Saturday night in Boston. It's 1 a.m. Am I out? Am I having fun? No, I'm having fun here. I'm having fun. This is more fun for me than what I would be doing on most Saturday nights. This is because I'm a basketball nerd. I love it here. So I get to be in the Garden talking basketball for you, with you. So hope you enjoy the podcast. Hope you subscribe if you're new. If you're one of my everydayers, you know I love you. You know you're the best. So now I'd love it if you shared the podcast. Tell your friends, tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.